Hey there, Aquarius. How are you doing? So this is all about you for the forecast period between the new moon in Pisces, taking you all the way to the full moon in Virgo on the 14th of March. Now, that's not just a full moon. It's also a total lunar eclipse. It's the first eclipse of 2025. So no doubt you can already start to feel that energy coming in. It's pretty strong. So anyway, what I'm going to do is take you on a journey from new moon to full moon and talk about all the things in between. Now, one of the things I really notice going on in this period is there's a lot going on about self-value, self-appreciation, valuing yourself first, and so on and so forth. So I think you are on a journey towards I guess the inner appreciation that you may well have forgotten about, but it has much deeper ramifications because, on the surface, it just looks like money worries, value worries, like resources and things like that, and how you are sharing resources and how you manage resources between you and other people. But really, underneath it all, there's a lot to do with appreciating yourself. So I'm going to take you on this journey. Now, the new moon that's happening on the 28th of February, it's a new moon in Pisces. The new moons are always times when there's not much available light around us. So it's not like we already know our answers. It's a time when we're kind of feeling into ourselves, into the psychic energy, maybe talking to our higher self, maybe tuning in a very, very different way. It's very intuitive, not very rational. And it's a time to really get a sense of how you'd like to create your future. And when we get to the full moon, everything is really clear and observable, and you can't kind of miss it. It's almost like so big, it's kind of slapping you in the face. Usually around that time, we feel really hurried and rushed and quite stressed because there's lots of opportunities coming in. So this journey is a growth journey. It's going to bring a lot more opportunities to you over the next couple of weeks. And there's this interesting midpoint here, the first quarter. I always see that as a time when things are starting to shift, things are starting to come in, and we need to make a decision. What's going to stay on our journey? What do we need to kind of just like put to the side? Because in the second part of this forecast, in week 2, things are going at quite a pace. So yeah, interesting times. Now, this is a quick look on a calendar, just so you can see, you've got the new moon, the change point on the 7th, and on the 14th, on the full moon, the eclipse. This is when things get really big. Now, I've also noted some of the most important dates here as well. So again, if you've got like the mindset of a diary, in my head, when I think about time, I don't know if it's the same for you, but if someone's saying, oh, what are you doing in 2 weeks time, I kind of bring up this in-head display and I actually have it laid out as a diary. So we all think very differently and have different ways of thinking. But anyway, on the 2nd of March, Venus is going retrograde and Mercury's in a conjunction with Neptune. It's really strong day. And the 3rd that follows straight after, Mercury is going into Aries. Now, I'm going to be talking about Venus and Mercury in particular in their conjunction on the 11th. So there's a lot going on there that's going to really play into this self-valuation. We've also got 2 very, very strong energies, the Sun trine Mars and the Sun in a conjunction with Saturn. In truth, the Sun is already in fact, I'll show you, as we come into this new moon, the Sun is already applying into a trine with Mars, and is moving closer and closer to Saturn all the way through this. So, this is the chart for the new moon, kind of setting the scene. And this is the chart from midway through. During this time, the moon is going to come from here in Pisces. This is the midpoint when it's in Gemini and about to go into Cancer. And then this is where the moon ends up at the end of this forecast period at the total lunar eclipse in Virgo. It's going to be right up here. So what you can see from this is highlighting this second house. Now, the second house, most astrologers just say, oh, it's your money. I think that's selling it short. I think it's everything you value. I really think that the first house is about you and your body and, your obvious appearance and health. And, I guess it's how you identify yourself. And this is kind of what you value and how you can bring value and resource into your life. So yes, our earnings come into this part of the chart, but it's also about how we value ourselves, because we are our greatest resource. Similarly, this, if this is us, then this is everyone else. And if this is our money and our values, then this is everyone else and their values and their money, or our shared money and resources. So, the moon is moving from this position of your resources and how you feel about yourself, how you value yourself, your self-esteem. And where it ends, the moon at the end of this period is in here. It's gone through this 8th house, which is all about other people's values, the money and resources that you share together. And in particular, if you've got like big loans, hefty loans and things like that, or tax bills and things like that, this is money that is shared between you and governments, or you and banks and building societies. So it can show a lot of money and resources that come in from different positions. So sure, it's got something about this whole time has got a lot to do with what is powering you. I mean, obviously we all power ourselves through having good health and looking after ourselves with good thoughts, but I'm talking about the physical powering up. We need money to survive. We need to be able to afford our lives. Where is this powering up coming from? Is it from our own efforts? And also, is it with a little help from our friends? So there's a lot to ponder on. Now, Saturn is one of your ruling planets, and it's also in this money house, as is Neptune. The North Node is now in here. It's going to be here for the next 17 months. And Mercury, you can see, is just in here. It moves into Aries on the 3rd. Now, this is something I need to mention, this Venus and Mercury. In your chart, Venus is currently in the 3rd house, which is to do with, I guess, when you're putting your resources and money to good use. It's like where you're spending your money and how you're interacting. The 3rd house is like a marketplace. It's also like the where you do a lot of your life. It's your neighborhood, your community. It's all the things that you're learning from the people around you in your community. It's also, I think, the installation of your belief systems. A lot goes on here at home. This is in the home and the family. But, here, we've got our schooling, everything that we've learned. It's like the local news that tells you what's going on. It's your neighbors and the people around you informing you as to what your life is. So I think a lot of our concept about the world we live in comes from this very local place around us. Now, Venus is in here at the moment. So she's probably bringing up lots of social opportunities for you, lots of times to go out and about and meet people and so on and so forth. Also quite good if you're selling things locally as well. It really sort of ups your game at a local level. But Venus is going retrograde on the 2nd, and she's going to be heading back into this 2nd house of your resources. And then she's going to move forwards again from the 13th of April and go on a merry way. She doesn't go retrograde very often. It's really not a common thing. And funnily enough, on the 15th, Mercury is also going to go retrograde from pretty much the same point where Venus has gone retrograde from. They're both going back to the same place and then both going forwards again. Now, Venus's retrograde is between the 2nd of March and the 13th of April. All of Mercury's retrograde and then going forwards again is taking place within the Venus retrograde. It's like Venus, the two dates are like the brackets of of the retrogrades, and Mercury's fits in between. So it's interesting. I would say between it's really starting this week on the 2nd of March, but there's a re-evaluation of your life to do with like it feels like you're going out into your local environment. You've got friends, you've got neighbors, you've got like the busyness of life. You might be going to work locally. It's everywhere where you are on a frequent basis. All your views, your shared experience, you could say, and how you interact and the support you get from it. There's a lot of belonging that goes here. There's a lot of norming that happens here, and lots of little tidbits of information and things to take on board. So your eyes and senses are always really, really busy in this part of the chart. But you know, these retrogrades coming back are really saying you'll do much better once you boost up your own self-esteem, and once you recognize the true strength of all the resources you have to hand. Now, you might just think that your resources are your money, but it's not. You know, there's so much more besides that. I mean, obviously money helps, but you know, it's things that we might share with people. It's things we might recycle and revalue, repurpose. In fact, Venus is quite helpful in doing this. You know, when she goes retrograde, things like antiques, recycling things tend to come up in value. If you're selling your house, for instance, you know, Venus, when she's going retrograde, tends to help slightly quirkier houses and houses that have more kind of heart appeal, you know, where we're having a real internalized feeling. So, you know, Venus is, she's helping you remember the things that have made you feel warm and good. And you might realize that you're missing out on some of that. So there's a bit of nostalgia that usually goes on at this time. So what's really going on here, I think, is over this next year, you've got Saturn and Neptune. They've been in your money place and value place for a long time. They are both going to be shifting into Aries this year, and then shifting back, and then shifting over again in January and February of next year. So, you know, there is a much bigger shifting going on, bringing you back into your local community, bringing you know, you more life and more opportunities. Truth be told, I think you'll be happy when Saturn, the big taskmaster, and Neptune come out of this area. I think this is a really strong area. And if you have any kind of self-esteem issues, Neptune and Saturn here can really emphasize or bring you opportunities where you get to see how insecure you are, or you are really testing where you don't trust and believe in yourself. So I think you know, it's brought you many kind of inner skirmishes to realize your true value. And you know, with Saturn as well, it's very materialized. You may well have had lots of battles in terms of understanding, you know, the money that you can bring in. You know, I think Saturn has probably tested you quite a bit. So you probably will be very pleased to know that they're buggering off and going into this part of your chart. I have to say, I mean, they'll bring you other challenges and learnings, because all planets do. But I think it's easier to learn things in our neighborhood as opposed to when it's really up in our face, which it kind of is in our second house, you know, because if our money's cut off, or if we cut off from our own goodness and the power of ourselves and the light that we bring the world and our talents and our skills, if we cut ourselves off from those, then we really do shoot ourselves in the foot. So yeah, again, there's this other nudge that, you know, you're coming up to a time now where anywhere where you haven't really appreciated yourself, to me, it feels like Neptune and Saturn are going to stop giving you these opportunities to learn more about how you can trust yourself at a deeper level. So Venus coming back into this area, and then, you know, Mercury also doing this, it's going to give you another sort of test to appreciate yourself more, to value yourself more, to maybe recognize what you've got, and to use that a lot more effectively. Because here's the kicker, and this is the thing that we're working on right now. I mean, this is a very a place where we only see our good coming from us. But the moon on this growth journey is taking us from the opportunities to create income for ourselves and create a good feeling for ourselves, create a better level of self-esteem. The moon is moving here and is taking us, or taking you, on this journey, and is going to blow things up a bit here, because the full moon, sorry, I've got an itchy nose. The full moon is a place where emotions, psyche, big patterns and stuff erupt and get big. The 8th house is, you know, where we share things with other people. So for instance, it's still itchy. For instance, if you've got loans, if you've got like tax to repay and things like that, you may well find around this time it blows up. So anywhere where you're not managing your financial life, where there's a crossover with somebody else, anywhere where you're not strong enough to manage it, it's likely to blow up a bit and to really be on your radar around the time of the total lunar eclipse. And of course, with the full moon, you can get a lot more emotional about it than maybe you need to. Because it's an eclipse as well, the energies of it are much, they last and reverberate for much longer. It's like the difference between throwing a small pebble into a still lake and then throwing a great big brick. The total lunar eclipse is the brick, obviously. It creates massive ripples. So whatever is going on around this time is bringing any kind of shared assets, borrowed assets, and things that haven't quite cleared, and also things that could knock your self-esteem. It's bringing it up so that you cannot ignore it anymore. So why am I emphasizing this so much? Well, you'll cope with these so much better if you're firmer and stronger in yourself, if you truly appreciate yourself, and also if you've recognized where your true good comes from, where your true talents come from, where your inner resources live, and also your outer resources, like how you can bring in more money, how you can manage your money a bit more effectively. And of course, if you're feeling good in yourself and you value yourself, you're going to do it. But if you're if you're in a place of self-pity, or if you're in a place of deep insecurity, if you're not feeling good in yourself, you're likely to overspend, buy the wrong things, and get yourself into negative loops. So I really do see that this 2-week period is to get you back on track so that you've got a bit more self-control, and so that when these opportunities come up and there's a lot of energy up here, you can also use that energy to transform things rather than to panic about things. Now, there is something else going on with the 8th house. It's not just about the shared money that you have with people, but it's also the shared judgments, because they are values that people hold on you and you hold on them. So there is this kind of element of, where we're judging each other. And I think things like shame, blame, guilt, anger, embarrassment, sort of the darker feelings, the ones that maybe stop us in our tracks, the ones that maybe eat away at our levels of self-esteem, they can also come up at that time. So again, if you've got any situation during this time that's ongoing whereby you don't feel confident in yourself, it's where this new moon energy needs to really be focused. So yeah, a couple of things you might choose to do with this particular alignment with this new moon is to set the energy to rebuild yourself, to build yourself up from the, where you see appreciation for yourself. Like, you might have to go back many years to a time when you felt quite confident and self-assured. It might just have been last week. It might have been, when you were 3 or 4 and really recognize how awesome you were. But it's like, build up from a secure base, find where there is a level of confidence and start building things up. So you might decide, well, I've got a bit of time to myself. I like to read, or I like to watch YouTube videos. I'm going to find things that are about boosting my self-esteem, helping me see the good in me, like using your resources. My go-to is to listen to Access Consciousness. I've been listening to Dr. Dane here. I've taken a bit of time off since Christmas. So I've been listening to a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So I've been boosting myself up. But, anywhere where you can feel the growth and the re-establishment, a bit like people talk about re-establishing your inner gut bacteria and the flora, you want to be developing your inner self-assurance, your inner self-esteem flora. So anything you can do to boost it with good bacteria or good thoughts, that's what I think is important. And that can obviously be done in a myriad of ways. Now, last few things I want to share with you. The sun trine Mars, as it comes in, as it continues and comes in, it's to give you confidence, because this is going to have a knock-on effect. It's going to help you get your life back in order. You may well have seen or experienced that when Mars was retrograde from December to literally a couple of days ago, that things kind of went a bit wonky in how you were managing your life. I mean, that's why I kind of stepped out from my channel a little bit as well, because I needed to manage myself. Mars is a really important planet in terms of moving forwards. And so things are going to start moving forwards again. So you might find that as you tidy up your life, your self-esteem also increases. And, Sun in a conjunction with Saturn's one of your ruling planets. As that comes in towards this total lunar eclipse, I actually see you getting very serious about what you are bringing about and how you're going to do it. So that's really helpful. But like the last thing, and this, I haven't spoken about this, and this is obviously really obvious. You've got Pluto right at the start of your chart, so you are going through massive shakes. I did speak about this in the Pluto in Aquarius videos. I think there's 3 big ones that I've done. So you can see that there's a much greater forecast on Pluto and his ramifications, but he is in this ongoing trine with Uranus, which is your other ruling planet. It's helping you to come out of your shell and to really treasure the things about you that are unique. In particular, the things that you may have learned about yourself when you were really, really small, your inner talents, the things that you may well have shut down because of shame, blame, guilt, and anger. But there is astrological support for you to deep dive until you can find that lovely level of, your self-esteem, inner gut flora, to build it back up. And it might mean that you're becoming a bit weirder or a bit more unique or a bit more you. And, I'm here to say, do it. Just do it and see what happens, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So I hope that's helpful to you, Aquarius. Sending you loads of love. I've got a couple of extra bits because I like to, I love to share what I see. I've recorded a relationship and connections video for you as well, just for Aquarians, for this particular time frame. And I've also done a specific career and ambitions forecast just for you for these 2 weeks as well. You can see the links below, so just check those out. And if you like them, let me know, because I'm trying to think, what am I going to carry on with and what am I not? So yeah, there you go. That's my offer to you. So check those out and hope you enjoy them. Have a great 2 weeks ahead and catch you another time. Bye for now.